Today we're taking a look at my top 5 favourite RC videos in 2024. Yes, the year is almost over and it's time to take a look back and check out some of my favourite RC reviews that I've done this year. Now, I like doing videos like this because not everyone gets a chance to go back and check out some of my previous videos, especially new subscribers. A lot of you would have missed everything that took place at the start of the year. Now, I've been fortunate enough to test out some very cool RC cars this year, and today we're going to take a look at my top 5 favourite reviews that I've done in 2024. This is going to be a fairly long video, so grab a drink, get yourself comfortable, and let's jump straight in. So we're going to kick things off with one of my favourite budget RC cars you can currently buy. Yes, of course, it has to be the Rolalo ROG1. Let's take a look at the full review that I did a couple of months back. So here it is, straight out the box. This is the ROG1, also known as the Gladiator. Initial impressions, well, I actually think it looks really cool. Rolalo have sent me the red version. You can also get a black one. Now, this doesn't feature a clipless system. Of course, we've got the old-fashioned body clips. It feels weird saying body clips are old-fashioned, but they kind of are, because a lot of companies are going for a clipless system now. Up on top, of course, we've got roof skids. There we have our front bumper with an LED light bar. The tyres feel surprisingly nice on this. I still need to put all the decals on and fit the wheelie bar. Here we have the decals. I'm going to fit these in a moment. Some more Rolalo stickers, the wheelie bar. Here we have the instruction manual. Here we have a bag of accessories and basic tools and a basic USB charger. Battery wise, this comes with a 2200 milliamp hour 3S. Finally, the transmitter. Now, this is kind of like a Dumbo RC style. We've seen these before. You don't get a foam grip on the wheel, but this still feels really nice to hold. This is a 4-channel transmitter. Up on top there we have the channel 3 button and the channel 4 button. Under here we have all of our trim settings. You can also turn the speed down on this, which is handy if you hand this to a kid or if you're an absolute beginner and the truck is too fast. It's nice to know you can turn the power down a bit. Overall, a very nice little unit. So I've now fitted some of the stickers and the wheelie bar. This thing is starting to look really cool. Of course, we're going to give the Gladiator a run, but first we need to take a look at some of the chassis features. So just as you would expect from Rolalo, this thing does have very nice adjustable oil-filled shocks. Yeah, the rear feels really good as well. We have metal shock towers. Of course, we've got metal CVDs at the front, metal dog bones on the rear. It might be slightly difficult to see, but we've also got a metal center drive shaft and a slipper clutch. The ESC and receiver box is mounted up on top. We have adjustable turnbuckles, a very nice metal chassis, front and rear sway bars, an adjustable motor mount. This also features hex hardware throughout. Now, the battery tray seems to be very snug on this. They have managed to fit a lot into this tiny little 1/14 scale platform. That's pretty much it when it comes to chassis features. Let's take a look at the electronics. So motor wise, we have a 28, 45, 3600 kV brushless motor, a 45 amp 2 to 3S ready ESC, of course a standalone receiver in the receiver box, and down there we have an 11 kilogram steering servo. Definitely not a bad electronic setup for such a small little truck. Now, you may be wondering, how much smaller is the Gladiator compared to the Omni Terminator? Well, here's a very quick comparison for you. Of course, the Omni Terminator is a mini 1/10 scale, or at least that's what Rolalo want us to think. It is in fact a 1/12 scale truck. And here you can quite clearly see that the Gladiator is quite a bit smaller than the Omni Terminator. Now, that said, they have managed to fit a lot of the nice features that we see on the bigger brother into this smaller platform. And I think Rolalo have actually done a very good job. Everything about this feels very high quality. It's also really heavy for a 1/14 scale truck. And I think this is going to turn out to be a very solid little RC car. Now, initially I did think to myself, not another mini RC car. There are so many out there already. And yes, that is true, but small RC cars also have their benefits. I mean, you could quite easily throw this in a backpack and take it with you anywhere, which is something you couldn't really do with a big 1/8 scale. So there's definitely a place in the RC market for mini RC cars, especially for people who are looking for a nice portable package that they can take with them anywhere. And I'm really hoping this thing turns out to be the greatest of them all. And this is kind of like what I would have liked to have seen from Armour with their grom range, those things are a little bit underwhelming considering how much they actually cost. Don't get me wrong, the Armour Grom stuff is fantastic, but I do think they're slightly overpriced for what you get. And once you factor in all the upgrades and a brushless conversion, you've definitely spent way more than you'd like to. And that's where something like this comes in for all of those people who don't want to be spending endless amounts of money upgrading the grom range. Something that's ready to run, powerful in a nice portable package is all you're really going to need. So we'll give this a little off-road test in a moment, but first let's see how fast it goes on the included 3S. There you can see the LED light bar, that looks really cool. Right, so let's see how fast the Gladiator goes on the included battery. This is on 3S. Now already this thing feels very quick. The steering feels a little bit twitchy. Let's full throttle. This thing is very quick, but it's also incredibly stable. It doesn't feel hard to drive. Some small cars which are this powerful feel really difficult to drive. Yeah, getting to full throttle is really easy on this. It is good that they've included a speed switch though, because this will definitely be too fast to hand to an absolute beginner. Yeah, this is very stable. Right, let's bring it back. Let's see what we got on the included battery. I like this thing a lot. I think you can probably tell that I like this. How cool is this little truck? So let's hit stop and read. 48 miles per hour straight out the box on its included battery. That is actually faster than the MJX Hyper Go, my all-time favourite mini RC car. This is 1 mile per hour faster. This thing is an absolute beast. Well done, Rolalo. You have created yet another monster. It just feels like a much larger truck to drive around. I know that sounds odd, but it kind of feels like you're driving around a 1/10 scale truck. I think it's probably due to the weight. Because it's so heavy, it just feels planted. Some light RC cars, which are a lot smaller, don't tend to handle that well because they're so lightweight, but this thing just sticks to the road. Yeah, I like this thing a lot. What a beast. So a quick off-road test then. Now this is the bit I've been excited about. I want to see how this little truck performs off-road. It does feel a little bit twitchy, and I noticed that when I was doing the speed run. But power feels good on 3S. That 3600 kV brushless motor does a great job. What you do notice is just how smooth this thing actually is. Rolalo have really got the gearing right on this. Just take a look at this. No cogging, no issues. Yeah, they've done very well with this one. Now, of course, this is running multi-surface tyres. They actually gripped really well on road, but over here, grip could be a little bit better. This thing is an absolute powerhouse. But what is good is the fact that you can turn the power down. 50% or something like that would be good for a beginner. Or if you're handing this to a kid, I really wouldn't give this to anyone on 100% because even for me, it's a bit of a challenge to drive. I think a lot of people will want to know, is this better than the MJX Hyper Go? Well, we know it's slightly quicker. I think it handles a little bit better than that as well. But the MJX is one of my favourite trucks of all time. It's the perfect way for beginners to get into the hobby. Has this done enough to take the top spot? Do you know, I think it is very, very close. Now, even though Relalo has done a great job with this, and they've given us something that a lot of us have been craving, a powerful mini RC car that's ready to run, something that Armour could have given us with the Grum range, but they chose not to. Even though they've done a fantastic job with this, it would be nice to start seeing some larger vehicles because there are so many minis out there. So there we go then, that was the ROG1, also known as the Gladiator. I think Relalo have done a fantastic job with this, and even though we have got so many mini RC cars out there, I think this one is definitely in my top 3. It certainly handles better than the MJX Hypergo Truggy, and you all know that's one of my favourite cheap RC cars of all time, and it is really hard to admit because I do love that MJX. I still think it's one of the best ways into the hobby, but I think this is just a little bit better. Obviously the build quality is better, it's slightly faster, and it just feels a little bit nicer to drive. I'm very interested to hear what you make of the ROG1. Let me know in the comments down below. I have to admit it has slightly surprised me because I wasn't expecting it to be this good. And if you're looking for something portable and powerful that you can throw into a backpack, I think you're looking at the perfect RC car. That little ROG1 is fantastic. It's definitely one of the best cheaper RC cars we've seen this year. Moving on to the next one, and we're going to take a look at a very cool little rally car. Of course, it has to be the Hypergo Rally. So here it is. This is what you're here to see. This is the new Hypergo 14303. So this thing is 1/14th scale. It does feature that really cool fully licensed body. I did have to spend quite a long time putting all the decals on because it doesn't have them pre-applied out the box, and there's quite a few to put on, and I've just realized I think I've actually missed a couple. So we'll get back to this fantastic looking RC car in a moment, but first let's take a look at what you get in the box. Now there's nothing new about this RC car because all it really is a new body on an old chassis, and for that reason you've probably already seen so many Hypergo videos before. We're just going to speed through the box contents really quick. So like I said, decals, a black and white manual. This one comes with a 2000 milliamp hour lithium ion battery, some rally tyres, drift tyres, USB charger, cross wrench and a screwdriver, a fan for the ESC, and finally the transmitter. These aren't too bad, we've seen these loads of times before and they do get the job done. So back to the car then, now it's time to take a closer look. From the outside, doesn't it look fantastic? I really like the huge wing on the back. Now you may disagree, but I think this is one of the best looking MJX vehicles we have seen. So let's get the body off and take a closer look underneath. So taking a closer look under the body, now I really wish this cable was longer because there isn't really much room to play with. Easy fix for that, you can just use an extension or you can just unplug it, but it's always a bit of a pain trying to plug it back in, and in my opinion it's not something you want to do every time you change a battery. So this does have LED lights, and as you can see under here there is a lot going on. Come on MJX, what were you thinking? That cable is really short. These come with a dust cover and they actually work really well because you will be picking up lots of stones and little rocks with this. Right, so let's talk about some of the chassis features and then we'll talk about the electronics. Now first up, this does have oil-filled adjustable shocks and they do feel really good. I'll show you the rear as well. Very nice, silky smooth. Of course we have a metal chassis, but I really wish they used proper hex hardware. Just take a look at that giant rear diffuser. Now, one of the standout features on this is that metal centre brace. Just take a look at that. That thing is huge. We also have a decent sized battery tray, and this should accommodate up to a 2200 milliamp hour 3S. It's always nice to see adjustable turnbuckles. We've got metal CVDs front and rear, a metal centre drive shaft. As you would expect, this does have ball bearings throughout and metal diffs. So electronics wise, we have a 3700 kV brushless motor, a 45 amp PSC. It's always nice to see a standalone receiver, and if you wanted to, you could upgrade that. And next to it, we have a gyro, and you can adjust how much stability that gives you. So I'm just about to fit a battery, and remember when I said it's really annoying removing that cable every time? Well, I don't know if you can see all the way down there, but doing so, I've actually damaged one of the pins. Removing that every time you want to take the body off is just a pain in the ass. The good news is I managed to bend that pin back and the lights are now working. Now, I've already done a speed test on the Hyper-Go, but we're going to do it again today. Right, so let's hit start on the GPS. Now, I've speed tested these things so many times, and I could have been lazy and just showed you some of the footage from one of the last ones, but I wanted to test this again today. It holds the road so well. For a car this small, well, you can see how stable it is. It's incredible how they've managed to achieve this in such a small platform. This is on the included 2S lithium ion. I haven't adjusted the gyro in any way. This is exactly how it comes right out the box. That's full throttle. So let's hit stop and read. 26 miles per hour right out the box on the included battery. Now, I've had so many people ask, which 3S do you run on your MJX Hyper-Go cars? Well, this is one of them. This is actually from Sirius RC here in the UK, and this is specially designed just for the MJX Hyper-Go range. Of course, you probably can buy another 2200 milliamp hour 3S pack, which will fit into the battery tray. But what I will say is, this is a perfect fit. There we go, look how snug that is. Now, if you're interested in one of these, I will leave a link down below. Right, so moving on, let's see how fast it goes on 3S. Now, this is when these little cars become absolutely mental, but I do like them on 3S. It's so much fun. That's full throttle. And just look how stable that is for a 1/14 scale car. There's nothing out there like this. They are incredible for the money. And it's crazy how stable this is for such a small RC car. Right, let's bring it back. Let's see what we've got on 3S. So let's hit stop and read. 40 miles per hour for a 1/14 scale platform. That is really impressive. Now, today I'm only going to be using the tyres this actually comes pre-fitted with, because I think these are the best all-rounders. I have tested the other tyres on some of the other cars. The drift tyres, yeah, I'm not a massive fan, and the rally tyres seem to grip just a little bit too much, which is fine if you're running in the dirt, but if you're running on tarmac or a variety of different surfaces, I would say stick to the tyres that are actually pre-fitted to the car already. Just showing you the gyro in action there. I just want to show you how easy this thing is to drive. I'm going to try and control this thing on 3S, full throttle with one hand. I really hope I don't mess this up. There we go, full throttle. Let's bring it back. This is actually more difficult than it looks, but it's doable. There we go, one hand. These cars are just so much fun, never gets old. I think if you're a beginner just starting out in the hobby and you want something you can use on road, this is going to be one of the best options. That was one-handed again. Yes, it's not as big as a 1/10 scale on-road car, but just looking at how stable it is and how capable it is, I really don't think that matters too much. So there we go then guys, that was the MJX Hypergo 14303. An extremely cool RC rally car, which is one of the most stable, smaller cars out there. And a lot of that is thanks to the gyro, which does help to keep it in a straight line. These cars are fantastic for the money, and if you want something that's slightly more capable off-road, if you're looking to do some stunts and jumps, then of course you have the Truggy. But if you're interested in going up to 40 miles per hour on-road, with a little bit of off-roading thrown in as well, well, this is going to be a great option for you. And I actually think these are one of the best ways into the RC hobby. The little Hypergo Rally never fails to put a smile on your face. It's definitely one of the best little rally cars I've tested this year. Moving on, let's take a look at something a little bit different. Now, a lot of you know I'm not really a massive crawler fan. I don't know what it is, but crawling just doesn't seem to do it for me, but I still like to review crawlers on the channel because I like to appeal to a much wider audience. Relalo reached out and asked me if I'd like to review their new 1/7 scale crawler, and of course I said yes. It looked really cool on the photos, so of course I wanted to give it a test. Let's jump into that. Let's take a look at the Relalo MK07. So here it is, this is what you've been waiting to see for so long. This is Relalo's brand new MK07. Now this thing is 1/7 scale and it is absolutely enormous. And you can see there just how big the MK07 really is. So the MK07 is obviously going to be a serious competitor for the SCX6. More details about this truck will be released soon and we'll know exactly how much it's going to cost. But I'd like to think it will definitely be cheaper than the SCX6. Although being a Relalo, I don't think it's going to be as cheap as some people have been mentioning. Now let's talk about styling first of all then. Now of course this is based on the Jeep Wrangler, and of course the body on this is Jurassic Park inspired. Although I'm not sure about Dinosaur Age, I don't know, I think they could have come up with something slightly better. So taking a look on the outside, of course this thing has some really cool scale details, including the wing mirrors, the snorkel. It also has windscreen wipers and it is really wet today. And you can see they do kind of work. We've also got a really big roof rack up on top, a ladder on the side. I think Relalo have done a good job with the styling, and it does look like it's come straight out of Jurassic Park. We're going to get back to the car in a moment, but first we need to take a look at what we get in this giant box. So of course we get the truck itself, and when it comes out the box it doesn't have any decals applied, so you do have to fit those yourself. Here we have the Relalo CT8A transmitter. This is 8 channels and it does have a lot of features. I actually reviewed this on my channel a little while ago, and for the money they're actually really good. Here's a closer look for you. You do get a thumbstick, you've also got a foam grip on the wheel, and this is really cool. You can actually run this off of 4 AA batteries, or you can do what I've done and use a small LiPo battery. And I think this is from one of my old high boxing cars. This is a 1600 milliamp hour 2S and it fits in there perfectly. So let's switch this on. So I've now got this switched on, and even though I've set the screen brightness to 100%, it is still difficult to see in the daylight. Now the buttons that you do see on this do control the lock-in diffs and the lighting setup, and also the 2-speed transmission. and it is quite complex on this, but I am going to try and show you a bit later. Here we have a mounting bracket if you want to fit a full-size spare to the rear, and you can do so using this. Here we have the black and white manual, which is slightly confusing, but the good news is there are exploded diagrams at the back and a list of all the parts. Back to the truck then. Now let's talk about some of the chassis features. And to do this, we're gonna have to remove the body. So there's 2 body clips down here that you remove, and then it's a simple case of doing this. How cool is that? Now this does have a very complex lighting system, as you can see, but it is all tucked away nicely inside. Now I know you want to see it in action, which is why we're going to speed through the chassis features as quick as possible. So this does have metal frame rails, metal oil-filled adjustable shocks, a nice large battery tray. Now this does feature solid front and rear axles, and you can lock and unlock the diffs. So underneath on the rear we have a 4-link suspension setup, 3-link on the front. These metal skids look really cool. Now it is worth noting these skid plates are actually an optional extra. Of course all the upgrade parts will be available on the Relalo website. Now I think these are an optional extra, but these are fitted because this is a review sample. Now this does have plastic drive shafts and they don't really look that thick. That has surprised me a little bit. Now this has an enormous 90mm of ground clearance. The tyres feel really soft and sticky, and they are mounted on plastic wheels. Now you can't really see it because the battery tray is in the way, but this does feature an all metal gearbox. So let's talk about the electronics. Now we have a 40kg steering servo, giant brushed motor. Now there is also a brushless version available as well. Now I do want to clear one thing up. This is definitely a brushed motor, not a brushed motor. Typical Relalo spelling, but just look at the size of the thing. Now this is a motor you would see in a 1/10 scale car, and just look at the size of it in comparison. That thing is absolutely huge. Finally, we have a 120 amp ESC, and I can't confirm it yet, but I think it may be 4S ready. Now this is where things start to get complicated, because this thing has 4 servos which control the locking differentials, the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive mode, and of course the speed settings. Now I'm probably going to get this all wrong, but if we hit the A button on the transmitter, that locks the front diff. The C button locks the rear diff. The B button controls the LED lights, and I don't think the D button does anything. This button down on the side controls our 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive settings. So there we have front wheel drive selected only. Switching it back to the center, we have 4-wheel drive. And then all the way over to the right should give us rear wheel drive. That's pretty cool. So let's try locking and unlocking the front diff. It's unlocked at the moment. If we hit the A button, that should be locked. Yes, it is. Finally, we have the 2 speed settings. Now that is low speed. Let's switch to high speed. Yeah, all very cool. I do really like the hinge system on the body. Let's get the body back on and take a look at the LED lights. Now I could be sensible, but this is the best way to do it. Right, next up, let's have a look at the LED lights. Now, of course, I'm out in the daylight, but I have tried to adjust the camera settings to make it more visible. So turning to the right, of course, we have turn signals, and to the left. Now, if we turn to the right twice really fast, that should activate the hazard warning lights. There we go. Hitting right twice again should turn those off. Now this does have quite a lot of settings when it comes to the front LED lights. We're going to hit the B button on the transmitter and see what happens. So there we have our headlights switched on. Now if we cycle through all the different settings, and then I'll show you the rear. So I'm just hitting the B button on the transmitter, and there we have all of the front LED lights active. Hitting the B button again. There we have a little bit of RGB. Is this something you need on a scale crawler like this? Maybe not, but it's still a nice feature to have, I guess. There we have our police lights. Maybe you fancy chasing some criminals in a Jurassic Park inspired crawler. So this is all very cool. Let's move over to the rear. So on the back, of course, we've got reversing lights and indicators once again. We've got 2 more lights which have now come on the rear bumper, but I think that is pretty much it. Now, if I've missed anything, I do believe the full spec will be available on the Relalo website this evening. So head over to Relalo after watching this video, and I'm pretty sure the prices will also be released as well. well. So how fast does this actually go then? Now we are in low gear, that is full throttle. We have to remember this is a big heavy truck on 3S, that is full throttle, low gear. How cool does that look? Moving up, let's switch to high gear. Well, that's definitely increased speed a little bit. Now that little bit of extra speed will definitely come in handy if you do decide to take this to a crawler course. Moving from one obstacle to the next will be a lot easier having that extra speed. So next up, we need to see how this will perform off-road. And to do that, I'm going to go to a place which kind of replicates where this vehicle would have been used. And in the film, of course, it would have been used in the jungle. Now for this bit, I'm going to stay quiet and I'm going to let you enjoy the truck. And then at the end, we'll summarise and have a little chat. What an impressive beast the MK07 is. I really enjoyed making that video, and even though I'm not a massive crawler fan, I actually really enjoyed that truck. Moving on, let's take a look at the next one, and this time it's going to be the Team Corrali Kagama 6S. Things are starting to get exciting now, and this is the part of the hobby that I really love. You know, the 4S and 6S bashing. I think the Team Corrali Kagama 6S has to be one of the best 6S trucks we've seen this year. And I know that's controversial, especially with all the Armour fans. You're all going to say, no, get the Kraton, but I actually think the Kagama's better. Anyway, I'll leave that down to you guys to have a debate in the comments section. Do you think the Kagama's better than the Kraton? Let me know in the comments down below. So let's jump into this one. Let's take a look at the Team Corrali Kagama 6S. Wow, what an impressive beast. Team Corrali have done a great job on the styling on this one. Doesn't it look fantastic? And it doesn't matter what angle you look at this truck from, I think it looks great. Now, my favourite Team Corrali truck was the Kronos XTR, which is this one here. This is a great looking truck, but I think this one is the new winner. Now, do you agree? Drop a comment down below and let me know. Now, a lot of people don't know, but Team Corelli have been around for years. And although they're quite new to the bashing side of things, I don't think anyone can deny how good they're actually doing, especially when you compare them to the other two big brands, because they do offer a lot of truck for the money. Now, I'm not a massive fan of the name, but I don't care about that because this truck looks seriously impressive. So this is the roller version. Team Corelli actually offered to send out the ready to run. It was my mistake, I actually clicked on the roller instead of the ready to run, but that doesn't matter because I already had electronics to go in this. So electronics wise, I'm using Team Corelli's own Curon 825 motor. That is a 2050 kV. Of course it's 6S ready, and I've paired that up with a Hobby Wing Max 8, and I have changed out the fan on that to a high performance one. And when you fire this thing up, well, it sounds like a jet. We've got this nice little switch holder on the back there. That's a nice little feature on this truck. Servo wise, I'm using a Savox SA1231SG. I think that has actually been discontinued now, but it's a great servo. It's nice and powerful, and it does provide plenty of torque. Now, my transmitter and receiver choice isn't going to be the Radio Master MT12, which, by the way, is a fantastic radio. It's one of the best out there, especially for the money. If you want to check that thing out, I will leave a link down below. Now, instead, I'm using my Sanwa MX6. I love this thing, and it's one of the most responsive radios I own. Now, when it comes to my gearing choice, I've decided to stick with the 13-tooth pinion that they include in the box. And of course, on the included pinion, it's still going to be really quick on 4S, and of course on 6S. And we will find out later because I will be doing a speed run. Now, this thing is feature packed. Of course, I'm going to run through some of the chassis features, but if you want to see a full list, I will leave a link down below so you can head over to Team Corelli and check this truck out in more detail. And this is where it gets exciting because they've made some upgrades. And this truck should be even stronger and more durable than their previous trucks. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this new upgraded hybrid brace system. I think this is fantastic and a much needed change compared to the Kronos. And although this looks more complex, it's really not, and it's actually very simple to work on. Now, this features the big beefy upgraded suspension arms from the Asuga, and once again these do look a lot stronger than the suspension arms on the Kronos. And I'm comparing this to the Kronos because that thing was known as one of the most durable RC cars out there. And what's great about these Team Corelli vehicles is they do offer 70% parts compatibility across the range. So of course this has a very nice metal chassis, ball bearings throughout the vehicle as you would expect on a high-end truck like this. It does have a hardened steel spur gear. Of course we've got metal differentials front, centre and at the rear, 5mm thick front and rear shock towers. Just look at those, look how beefy those look. Of course we've got heavy duty front CVDs and dog bones on the rear. We also have a front and rear sway bar. Just check out these fantastic oil-filled adjustable big bore shocks, which do come with these really nice plastic protectors. Of course, this has pivot ball suspension, really big mud guards on the rear. Now, this doesn't have adjustable turnbuckles. As you can see, we've got heavy duty fixed links, got these very nice plastic chassis guards. And I really like this because this will help to take all the abuse should the car topple over. Now, of course, if you want to check out the full spec, I will leave a link down below. This truck has so much to offer, and if I go through everything in such detail, we're going to be here forever. And I don't know about you, but I really want to see how this truck performs. Right, so let's see how fast this will go on 4S using the included pinion. Let's start the GPS. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not looking for anything insane with this. I want this to be my 6S stunt truck. It doesn't have to be insanely quick. So what are we going to see on 4S? That's full throttle. I think we're going to see 40s actually, which is actually very good. Right, let's bring it back. Let's see what we got. So on 4S then, we're going to hit stop and read. 45 on 4S. Yeah, that is a respectable speed. Right, so this time we're going to see how fast it goes on 6S. Let's start the GPS. Now, I've got a feeling 6S is going to change this up. Whoa! What a beast! Oh, yes! Are we going to get a full throttle pass out of this? That's full throttle. So at this point, my microphone decided to die, but I'll let the footage play anyway, and then I'll show you the result. So not a bad result at all, but what I really want to see is how this truck performs off-road on 6S. I think it's going to be a backflipping king, so let's do that now. So just as I expected, this thing handles so well. But what it's really good at is doing this. What a beast. Just look how fast it is. What an insane beast. Honestly, Team Corrali, you have done a great job with this. And who needs skate parks when you can have fun at a place like this? Now, not only is this thing quick on road, but it's also quick off road. Oh. This thing is proving to be a backflip monster. It loves it. So there we go, this thing is absolutely epic. It's definitely a backflip machine on 6S, but it's also fun on 4S. Now some people may be wondering, why didn't I take this to a skate park? Now enough channels like to copy Kev, that's really not my style. I'm not into that and I like to do my own thing, and skate parks are most certainly not my thing. Now I finished today's video without breaking a single thing on this truck, and I didn't go easy on it as you see in the video, and for me, that is more than enough to tell me this truck is a good one. I don't need to launch this thing 50 foot in the air to come crashing back down onto concrete to see if it actually survives before telling you it's a good truck. So there's no denying then this truck is a serious contender when you're looking for your next ultimate 6S basher. That Kagama is a backflipping beast. It's one of my favourite trucks of the year. It's also my go-to basher alongside my Hyper SSTE. Those two trucks pretty much go with me everywhere. But there's one more truck that I reviewed earlier on in the year that I just can't seem to forget about, and even though I don't actually own one, it's one of those trucks that I've reviewed that I can't quite get out of my mind. Now if you clicked on this video, you may have seen it already on the thumbnail, but I think you know what's coming up. It has to be the Armour Big Rock 6S, a very impressive 6S beast that I really think you need to see, and this is why I've placed it at the #1 spot as my favourite RC review of the year. So let's jump into the final video. This is the Armour Big Rock 6S. Full throttle. Whoa. Armour are well known in the RC world for offering some of the best bashing RC cars around. I'm a huge fan of their 3S BLX range and their 6S range, and the Typhon 6S is one of my all-time favourite RC buggies. And today we're taking a look at something a little bit special. This is the new Armour Big Rock 6S. And here it is, and doesn't it look fantastic in this gunmetal colour? Now you can also get this in red and white, but I actually really like the gunmetal, and I think this is one of the best bodies I've ever seen on an RC car. It's got lots of lovely scale details like the wing mirrors, the windscreen wipers, there we have the front grille and the moulded headlights. We've got a flatbed on the rear, of course we've got some roof skids, and the back of this looks really cool as well. Now these wing mirrors do worry me slightly. I feel like they're going to be one of the first things to shear off, and I'm not sure how much they are to replace. They do fold though, so in the event of a crash I'd like to think they'd fold in. Now you may be looking at this and thinking, where are the body clips? Well, there's only two on the back, because this thing kind of uses like a semi-clipless system. You undo the back two and then the front just slides out. But is it going to be easy to do one-handed? Well, yes it is actually. Not too bad, Armour. Just look how much we've got going on the inside of this. This is definitely over-engineered, and this body feels really heavy. I think the real question here is, will I be able to put this back on one-handed? Oh, look at that, nice and easy. Now this body looks so good, you almost don't want to get it all scratched up and dirty. But of course I am, because I'm going to give this thing a proper test today. Now this isn't a cheap truck, and some may even say it's too expensive. This currently costs $769.99 in the UK and $699 in the US. And it is quite large, but at $769.99, I think that is just a little bit too expensive. And if it was closer to the £600 mark, I think it may be appealing to a lot more people. Now it's important that we understand people have different budgets. Just because we find this too expensive, it doesn't mean the next person will. Now this was sent out to me to review on the channel. If I had to pay for this using my own money, I don't think I would. And that's because I do agree with a lot of people that it is just a little bit too expensive. Especially for us guys here in the UK, Horizon always seem to charge us more. The good news is, if you're in the UK and you're tempted to buy one of these but it's just a little bit too expensive, well, I may be able to save you some money. Have you started buying all of your RC parts and cars from Rochester RC yet? If not, why not? They're now one of the best RC shops around, offering all of the latest RC products and at great prices. They offer excellent advice for beginners getting into the hobby. Using my code beyondRC, you can get 5% off your entire order and free shipping on everything listed on their site with no minimum order. So even if you order a £2 part, you're gonna get free shipping. So let's do a little test then. Let's use my code beyondRC on the Big Rock 6S and let's see what price we get. So it brings the price down to £731, which is almost a £40 saving, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to get that anywhere else in the UK. And once again, like I said, you can use this code on anything on their website and you're going to get the discount. So back to the truck then. Now let's talk about some of the chassis features. Now let's talk about the shocks first of all, because this thing has got really nice big bore oil filled adjustable shocks, and they do feel fantastic. And that is what I expect to see on a truck that costs this much. All the components on this truck are black, which really add to the stealth look. We have a really nice large front and rear bumper, which do look like they're going to take loads of abuse. Metal shock towers front and rear. We have pivot ball suspension. Of course we've got metal CVDs at the front, metal dog bones on the rear, front and rear sway bars. We have a metal centre brace. Of course we've got a metal chassis, adjustable turnbuckles, metal centre drive shafts, plastic mudguards. Moving on to the electronics, we have our 150 amp Firma ESC, which also has a cat pack. Down here we have a new updated steering servo, which is metal geared. It's also high torque, and I've been speaking to a few people and they've all been saying that this is a very good servo. Finally, down here we have our 2050 kV brushless motor, which does have a heatsink and a fan. Now some of you may have noticed this is pretty much based on the Fireteam, and you're 100% correct, but they have removed one feature. They have removed the e-brake. Now I never owned a Fireteam, but from what I've heard, that was an unnecessary feature. Some people are really against the Spectrum electronics. I've never had an issue. I've been running exactly the same setup in my Typhon 6S for a few years now, and I've never had an issue. Let me know what you think of the Spectrum electronics in the comments down below. Now on the box it says this will do 65 miles per hour plus using the speed pinion. And under here it does say speed achievable in optimum driving conditions on 6S LiPo with optional speed pinion included. Now the cheaper Chinese companies out there, take note, because that is what you should be putting on the boxes, and that saves all the full speed claim allegations. Also on the box it does say ready to run, and I know a lot of people have said it's not a true ready to run, and that is because you do need to provide your own batteries and charger. So this thing is running IC5 connectors, so bear that in mind when you're looking for a battery. Also in the box we get a parts bag, and in here we have a cross wrench. It looks like we've got some shock components, we've also got some decals, and of course the manual. And down there I can see the speed pinion. Finally we have the transmitter, and it is the SLT3. I've never had an issue with these, and I actually really like them. Now we've got steering dual rate adjustments, throttle trim and steering trim, and what's really nice about these is you can turn the throttle down to 50%, 75% or 100%, and that's handy if it's just a little bit too quick and you want to turn things down. Now this does take 4 AA batteries, and they do include those in the box. The first thing we're going to do is see how fast it goes on 4S, and then we're going to stick a 6S in there. Now I have got this powered on, and just look at the steering servo. That is very impressive. Right, so I've got the GPS on there. Let's find out how fast it goes on 4S, and to do that we need to hit start on the GPS. And I know I forgot to say it on my last video, that never seems to get old. People are still talking about it now. Right, so this is 4S right out the box, stock gearing, and it does feel quick. Sounds good too. Now this is actually gripping a lot better than I expected out the box, because the tyres do feel a little bit firmer than usual, almost plasticky, which has been pointed out by some other channels as well. What an impressive looking beast this is. Very impressive so far, very stable, does hold the road nicely. Right, let's bring it back, let's see what we got. What a beast. So let's hit read. 34 miles per hour out of the box on 4S. Right, so this time we're moving up to 6S. Let's start the GPS. So this is on 6S now. Let's see what we can get out of this. Whoa, that has certainly changed things up a little bit. Just making sure it's clear. Full throttle. Whoa, that is quick. I think we're going to see 50s. And for a big heavy truck like that, well, that is pretty quick. It's still gripping really well. Oh yes, I like this a lot. What are we going to see out of this? I'm hoping we see mid-50s, and then with the speed pinion that will take us up to the 65. Yes, what a beast. Right, so we're going to hit stop and read. 55 miles per hour. So next up we're going to give this a little off-road test, and this is going to be fun because we have got ice here and here and here. Yeah, it is cold today. So I have come to one of my favourite bashing locations. It is really cold today. We're going to see how the Big Rock 6S performs down here. Now the one thing I was worried about was the tyres, because they are quite firm, almost plasticky, but they actually grip pretty well. Even though it's really icy today, it's still doing a pretty good job. Now I might not be into skate parks, but I am into this. Oh yes! There's no concrete landings here. guys. What an impressive beast the Big Rock 6S is. I think at some point I'm going to have to get another one. But yeah, I think that's probably the most memorable review I've done this year. 2024 has been a great year for RC. I hope we see lots of new releases in 2025. Thanks for all the ongoing support throughout the year. If you enjoy what I do here on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really hope you have a great new year, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Cheers for watching. See you on the next one. Take care.